And we're back with Emma Knows Money, and I'm here with Stephanie Anderson, estate planning attorney. And in this segment, I'd like to talk a little bit about what estate planning is and what the documents are. A lot of times when I'll mention to people that they, do you have your estate planning in place? I get from them, hey, I'm a middle class person. I've got a mortgage. I've got student loans, car loans. I live on less than an acre. What estate do I have?
Right.
There's no need for me to do anything. So if you could just kind of explain to our viewers, it's like 8 of them, and your parents probably, so we have 10 now. If you could explain to our viewers what estate planning is and just what some of those important documents that go into that estate plan.
Well, estate planning is really about telling us while you're alive, who you want to be in control if you can't communicate.
Okay.
So a lot of it is just determining who do I want to be responsible.
Okay.
And believe it or not, people fight over who's going to be in power. It's not so much about people fighting over the stuff and the money. I find that families fight over who's going to be in control. So if we have a plan that's made it very clear as far as who you want to be in charge of those final things, it makes things so much more smooth. And so if you have minor children, you might not have a lot of stuff per se, but your estate plan in your last will and testament is going to tell us who's going to be raising those children. We don't want to leave that up to the courts to make a determination who's going to be best fit to be a parent to those children. So some of it is kind of getting around the stuff, because there's so many other issues that we need to address. And a lot of it's just control, raising children, and it could be as simple as I want my diamond ring to go to so and so.
Okay.
Right? Okay, because otherwise people might fight over that diamond ring.
Listen, I had a client whose family they fought over a toilet seat clock.
Oh.
It was the most hideous thing I've ever seen, but people stopped talking to each other over a toilet seat clock that was in mama's bathroom.
Yep. I can see that.
Yeah.
I can see that.
So what is the way, if you want to get into a little bit of what you do that's a little bit different, because, people do feel that, estate planning is such a morbid topic and, we don't want to deal with it. What do you do to kind of alleviate and just bring people's fear levels down?
The biggest thing that we do that's probably a bit different from other firms is that we're really big on education first.
Okay.
So before you ever sit down and speak with me about your specific situation, I want to make sure you're educated.
Right.
To even have the conversation with me. So we do workshops and webinars and seminars, so they can just make sure that you're in a position to where you can have the educated conversation with the attorney.
Okay.
As the attorney, it's not my job to take orders from you. My job is to kind of guide you through this and let you know what your options are, but it's really hard to have that conversation if you don't know what I'm talking about. So that's the biggest thing that we do, get you comfortable with the concepts. And then once you're comfortable with the concepts and how you can mess it up, then you're in a position to where we can actually start talking about your specific situation, your goals, your vision for your family and your assets.
So once you know enough to be dangerous, that's when they come in. Okay.
Exactly.
How do you feel about people using like legal Zoom?
LegalZoom is one.
Yeah.
Rocket Lawyer, I think, is another one.
Yeah. Doing their estate, or Office Depot has a form. How do you feel about that?
As a probate attorney, I will say this. I don't like it as an estate planning attorney.
Okay.
So as the estate planning attorney, I'm helping people before there's a problem.
Okay.
As a probate lawyer, the attorney that steps in after someone passes away, I find that those are the cases, it's unfortunate,
right,
but those are the cases where families are spending a lot of money to have me fix what they did through LegalZoom.
And I'm so glad you said that, because I always tell people, well, you can use it if you want to make a lawyer rich.
Yeah,
like if you want to help pay for tuition for a lawyer's, kid or whatever, go right ahead and do that. So that's not the best way. So you don't necessarily recommend it.
I don't.
Okay.
You're going to be saving money on the front end.
Okay.
Your family's going to pay that and more to fix.
Unless you don't like your family.
Exactly.
Okay. So if you don't like your family, then go right ahead and do legal.
Take money out of their pocket
right,
and put it into a probate attorney's pocket.
So what is a will?
So a will, it's a very simple concept. It's a very simple document, but what you're doing, you're telling us who's going to be in control.
Okay.
And so basically, who's going to handle your estate? Who's going to handle your affairs when something happens to you?
Okay.
Somebody does need to be in charge.
So you're basically assigning somebody to take charge of your affairs
when
if
you
pass away. What about if we'll get into that.
Yeah,
okay.
So this is when you pass away.
Okay.
So we can only use the last will and testament at the time that you pass. So you're telling us who's going to be in charge, and then you're telling us who's going to benefit from your estate.
Okay.
So who are the beneficiaries? Who are they? Who do you want to receive your money, your jewelry, whatever it is that you're going to be leaving behind? So it fulfills those very two important things. Who's going to be in charge? Who gets it?
Now, I know that part of a will, sometimes there's a trust. And a lot of times I'll talk to people about their estate and they'll say, and these are people who may not have a lot of assets, that they want to start a trust for their kids or their grandkids. And when I start explaining to them that a trust costs money, there seems to be a lot of confusion and people throw around the term trust.
They do.
So if you could explain just the very basic, don't go deep.
Yeah.
There's lots of types of trust,
but
the two in particular that I'm getting at.
So you're talking about a testamentary trust.
Okay.
So that's a type of trust or an entity, really, that's not created until someone passes away. And we probate someone's will, and the will says that, hey, if I have minor children and my children haven't reached the age of 25, I want you to hold their share in trust. And so what that means is that we're not going to give their share to them outright, free and clear. Their share is going to be held in this entity, in this trust, where someone else is going to oversee that money until they're old enough. So with that being said, there needs to actually be something to oversee.
Right.
You've got to have assets in your estate to create this trust. Otherwise, there's...
Right. So even life insurance proceeds can go into a trust, things like that. But you don't just set up, if you're still alive, it's not something that you're looking at setting up. There are different types of trusts.
Different types.
But those trusts cost money to maintain on an annual basis. Tax returns have to be filed.
It depends on the type.
Depending on the type.
Yeah. So there is one that's just... it's for estate planning purposes. It's called a revocable living trust, right? And so people would choose to use that instead of planning with the last will and testament because they're wanting to avoid probate.
Yes.
But we don't have to worry about filing different tax returns or anything like that. But those are really great tools if you have a huge life insurance policy, if you have real property, not only in the state of Georgia, but you might have real property in another state.
Right.
So that way we're not having to go through probate in all these different states where you might have owned property. So it just makes the process of administration when something happens to you a lot easier. And life insurance for a lot of people is going to be the biggest asset they put in that type of trust. So if you have minor children, or let's say that we're not even talking about minor children, you just might have beneficiaries that you love and you want to include them. But you don't love them enough to just give it to them outright. Right. So it can give you more flexibility with those type of assets where we're just not naming a beneficiary. The insurance company writes a check and says, good luck to you.
Right. Which when that happens, it's just usually
It's
very bad. So a will, to just kind of summarize it, a will would be almost instructions from the grave.
It's instructions from the grave.
This is how you're going to receive the proceeds of all my hard work and not blow it.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
Do you have any suggestions, or do you suggest, usually when people have children, especially they really don't get this until they have teenagers, but do you ever tell people how to disperse funds to kids, or do you think they should get it all at 18?
Oh no, I don't like 18 period Georgia says you're an adult at 18. I'm thinking about what I was doing at 18. I wouldn't trust 18-year-old Stephanie.
Right.
So, no, you can be really creative. You can say, okay, well, when my child turns 25, at that point they can receive maybe 20%.
Right.
And then when they turn 30, maybe they can get another percentage. And when they turn 35, maybe they get a little bit more.
Right.
So you can stagger it. I've also had clients who have divided it depending on what's going on in that child's life. So if the child is getting married, give them some. If the child is getting ready to start a business, give them a distribution.
Right.
If my child is getting ready to buy their first house, you can make a distribution. So it can be certain stages in their lives too. So we can be really creative.
And that's, I think, in my opinion, it's one of the better ways. And that way the child, it's almost a gift and a curse when a person knows that they don't have to work hard, that there's going to be money there for them. But if it forces them to continue to try to strive to live their life the way they
Yes.
need to live it and not wait on the money.
Exactly.
So
I
yeah,
agree.
I like that.
I agree.
When we come back, we're going to talk about two other documents. We're going to talk about a power of attorney, and we're also going to talk about a healthcare directive. We'll be back right after this.